The Kung Fu Panda trilogy introduced us to some of the most complicated and, in my opinion, misunderstood villains in an animated film series. No one exemplified this more than our first villain, Tai Lung. What made Tai Lung the most tragic character in my opinion is that his path to darkness wasn't chosen. It was a byproduct of everything that he had been taught and put through. Tai Lung never wanted to become evil. However, that was what the world made him out to be. That was how he was forged. That was pretty much all he knew, and this video is going to break down exactly why. You might be wondering, surely Tai Lung couldn't have destroyed the village and almost killed Shifu if he wasn't an evil and angry person. And you would be correct. Tai Lung was no doubt an evil and angry character who was consumed by hatred. However, the source of his hatred and anger is what deviates Tai Lung and makes him so much more misunderstood and interesting than the other two villains, Shen and Kai. So what was Tai Lung's source of anger? Betrayal. Betrayal by none other than the person he trusted most, Master Shifu. And this betrayal led him down a path of destruction that only ends in one way. But how did Tai Lung suffer the greatest betrayal in the franchise from Master Shifu? To understand this, we first need to establish three main ideas and themes about Tai Lung's life. The first and most important thing to understand is ultimately, what did Tai Lung want? So let's hear it right from the horse's mouth. What did Tai Lung ultimately want from Shifu?
What I ever did, I did to make you proud!
All Tai Lung wanted was to get Shifu to recognize him, to acknowledge him, and to make him proud. That is the first thing we need to understand about Tai Lung. His life goal was to make Shifu proud. The second idea we need to establish is what Tai Lung thought made Shifu proud, and that was performing well in Kung Fu. Take a look at this scene of Tai Lung and Shifu and tell me what you notice.
Shifu trained him. He believed.
Look at how Tai Lung immediately turns around and looks at Shifu right after he performs the kick. Tai Lung wants to see how Shifu is reacting. Then look at Shifu's face. It starts off surprised with his mouth wide open, but then it breaks into a happy smile. Tai Lung is observing all of this. He's staring right at Shifu and seeing how happy and proud he made him from performing that kick. Tai Lung then goes up to snuggle and get more positive reinforcement from Shifu, which he does receive through Shifu scratching his head. All of this conditioned Tai Lung to believe that in order to get Shifu's praise, he has to perform well in Kung Fu. This theme was constant even in Tai Lung's adult life. Look at this scene here and keep your eyes on Shifu and Tai Lung.
He wanted the dragon scroll.
Look at Tai Lung right after he finishes his move. Tai Lung immediately turns around and starts looking for Shifu's approval the same exact way he did when he was a cub. Now let's take a look at Shifu's reaction.
He wanted the dragon scroll.
Shifu is nodding his head in approval, giving Tai Lung the positive reinforcement he was looking for. For Tai Lung's entire life, he believed that he had to perform well in Kung Fu to get Shifu's praise. This is the second thing you need to understand about Tai Lung. The last thing we need to understand about Tai Lung is that he never wanted to become the Dragon Warrior in the first place. Tai Lung only wanted to become the Dragon Warrior to make Shifu proud. We learn from a flashback from Tigress that Shifu believed in Tai Lung, that Shifu told Tai Lung he was destined for greatness.
He believed in him. He told him he was destined for greatness.
Tai Lung created an image in his mind that in order to make Shifu proud, he had to fulfill his destiny by becoming the Dragon Warrior, because it was all Shifu told him growing up. Tai Lung just had to meet Shifu's expectations of becoming the Dragon Warrior. This wasn't Tai Lung's dream, but an expectation he placed upon himself to make Shifu proud. Listen to Tai Lung during this scene.
Who filled my head with dreams?
When Tai Lung says, "Who filled my head with dreams?" he is implying that originally he didn't have any dreams to become the Dragon Warrior, but because Shifu pushed him so much and so hard to become the Dragon Warrior, Tai Lung eventually started having that dream as well. That is the third thing you need to understand about Tai Lung. So, how does all of this relate to Shifu's betrayal of Tai Lung? And what even was his betrayal? Shifu's betrayal can be broken down into two different things. The first one is the way Shifu trained Tai Lung was ultimately what caused him to not be chosen as the Dragon Warrior. Watch these scenes and I'll explain what I mean.
Well done, students. If you were trying to disappoint me, the path to victory is to find your opponent's weakness and make him suffer for it.
Look at how tough Shifu is on the Furious 5 and Po. Now, if this is how hard Shifu trained the Furious 5 and Po, imagine how much harder he must have trained Tai Lung. Imagine how much pain and suffering Tai Lung must have gone through. In fact, we don't even have to imagine, we can just listen to Tai Lung.
Who drove me to train until my bones cracked?
When Tai Lung says, "Who pushed me to train until my bones cracked," he is implying that Shifu Shifu was the one who pushed him to break his body. I believe this because why would Tai Lung be asking this question in the first place? Is he looking for an answer? No, he's not looking for an answer. If he was, he would have stopped and let Shifu answer. This is a rhetorical question not meant to be answered, but meant to express a general understanding between Shifu and Tai Lung that Shifu was the one who pushed him so hard. Tai Lung literally trained until his bones cracked because he thought he was going to become the Dragon Warrior. All because Shifu kept pounding it into his brain and only giving Tai Lung positive reinforcement when he performed well in Kung Fu. Tai Lung was also trained to fight with destruction and violence in his mind. Tai Lung was literally trained to find his opponent's weaknesses and make them suffer for it. Take a look at these scenes of Tai Lung.
It was never enough for Tai Lung.
Notice how as a kid, Tai Lung doesn't use anger or violence. He was just training to get better. But look how Tai Lung trains as an adult. He literally destroys the entire training post. Not only did he destroy that one, he destroyed every single one that was in the room too. All while Shifu was just nodding in approval at him. Tai Lung was literally getting positive reinforcement to use destruction. And remember what we established earlier in the video? That all Tai Lung ultimately wanted was to get positive reinforcement and make Shifu proud. So if using destruction gets Tai Lung positive reinforcement in this scene, wouldn't it make sense that in other training sessions Tai Lung would get more positive reinforcement the more violence and destruction he used? All I'm gonna say is that Tai Lung has been through some things. All of this violent and destructive training eventually led Tai Lung to build an inner darkness within him. It led him to become an angry and violent person. This is the real reason why Oogway didn't choose Tai Lung. Not because Tai Lung was born with an inner darkness, but because an inner darkness was forged and created inside of him through his training with Shifu. Look at Oogway just shaking his head watching all of this. He saw the inner darkness that Shifu had created. Now, I will say this about Shifu. This was 100% not his intention at all. He genuinely wanted the best for Tai Lung, and he also genuinely thought everything he was doing was in Tai Lung's best interest. But Shifu still turned Tai Lung into a monster even though he did it ignorantly. It still happened, and I will be making a video breaking down exactly how Shifu messed up. I'm also going to talk about what we can learn from him, but please keep this in mind when you're thinking about Shifu and what he did to Tai Lung. Everything he did with the best intentions at heart. So this was the first part to Shifu's betrayal. The training that he put Tai Lung through created that monster that ended up attacking the village and the Jade Palace. Although not being chosen as the Dragon Warrior was definitely a massive, devastating blow to Tai Lung, it wasn't the ultimate trigger that led him down his path of darkness. Remember, Tai Lung never actually wanted to become the Dragon Warrior in the first place. He only trained to become the Dragon Warrior because he thought that was what would make Shifu the most proud of him. This brings me into the second part of Shifu's betrayal. His failure to defend the person he had groomed for greatness. Imagine what must have been going through Tai Lung's head when he saw Shifu doing nothing at all. Tai Lung must have been incredibly hurt and must have felt incredibly bad because it was Shifu who made him believe that he was destined to become the Dragon Warrior. To make Shifu proud, Tai Lung dedicated his entire life to fulfilling that expectation Shifu placed on him. Yet when the time came for Shifu to defend Tai Lung's honor and acknowledge his potential, he did nothing. Tai Lung felt utterly betrayed and devastated, as though everything he had worked for his entire life had been for nothing. He gave Shifu everything he had, but when the chips were pushed to the middle of the table, Shifu didn't even lift a finger for Tai Lung. From Tai Lung's perspective, everything Shifu had told him for his entire life had been a lie. If Shifu really believed Tai Lung was destined for greatness, why didn't Shifu stick up for him? All of these thoughts led to anger and resentment building up in Tai Lung. And for Tai Lung's entire life, he was only taught one way to deal with his emotions: violence and destruction, which is exactly what he turned to. Tai Lung didn't want to be evil or violent, he just wanted Shifu to acknowledge him. But when Shifu did nothing in support of Tai Lung, the image in Tai Lung's mind of Shifu was completely obliterated. The person Tai Lung had looked up to for his entire life was actually just a facade. Tai Lung was only left with the violence, destruction, and pain he suffered as a result of the training Shifu put him through. This is why Tai Lung did terrible things. Not because he was a terrible person, but because terrible things kept happening to him, and terrible was the only thing that he knew. All Tai Lung wanted was Shifu to praise him. That's it. And if you still aren't convinced, let's watch this scene one more time and really dive deep and break it down.
You knew I was the Dragon Warrior!
Take note of Shifu and Oogway's position relative to Tai Lung. When Tai Lung is looking straight ahead, Oogway will be on Tai Lung's right and Shifu will be on his left.
You always knew.
Look at Tai Lung's eyes, specifically his pupils.
You always knew.
Tai Lung shifts his eyes from the left to the right, and remember what we just said? Oogway is positioned on Tai Lung's right, and Shifu is positioned on his left. Tai Lung was originally looking at Shifu, but then turned towards Oogway because Oogway was about to make his decision. So right now Tai Lung is staring at Oogway. Oogway is about to tell Shifu no, and watch Tai Lung's reaction, specifically his pupils.
What did you do?
The moment Tai Lung saw Oogway say no, Tai Lung shifted his eyes down and to the left. And guess who happens to be on Tai Lung's left? Shifu. That means Tai Lung immediately started looking towards Shifu after he was rejected. The same exact way he immediately turned around and started looking towards Shifu when he was training as a cub and as an adult. Tai Lung has always just been looking for Shifu's reaction no matter the situation. He just cares what Shifu thinks about him. Keep watching Tai Lung's eyes to see what he does next. It was very quick, but he momentarily looks away from Shifu back to Oogway. The reason he does this is because he's ashamed of himself and embarrassed right now. He feels as if he let Shifu down because he wasn't chosen and can't bear to look at him right now. But then his eyes shift one more time. In that brief instant, Tai Lung remembered that Shifu had always believed in him, and he looks back at Shifu because Tai Lung is expecting him to do something. However, look at what Shifu does. He looks like a fish out of water, just gaping his mouth, and then he turns his back on him without saying a word. Look at how heartbroken Tai Lung is. Look at his ears. They just droop down in disbelief at what he saw. I mean, look at his face. Tai Lung was really hurt by this, and this was the second half of Shifu's betrayal. Doing nothing for Tai Lung after he was denied becoming the thing he had worked so hard for. This abandonment led Tai Lung to unleash the monster within him, the monster that Shifu had created. If Shifu had stuck up for Tai Lung, things might have turned out a lot differently. Tai Lung's story really teaches us that you never know what someone has been through in their life. Tai Lung went through a lot of suffering that no one knows about, and all of that suffering from Shifu's training turned him into who he was. Every person you see is the accumulation of all of their life experience, and all of that life experience turned them into who they are for a reason. Try to see things from other viewpoints and perspectives. Thanks for watching this and take care.